Michelle King. I am with Colliers Engineering and Design, and I am also the chair of the Telecommunications Industry Foundation. Today, we're going to be talking about a planning advisory notice on post-modification inspection and post-installation inspection. And here with me to talk about this important topic, I have Kaibar Noorzad with Power Engineering Solutions, Gilberto Martinez with Colliers Engineering and Design, and Kyle Thorpe with Paul J. Thorpe. Now, the three of you are competent professionals in the telecommunications industry, and you've all completed more than 15,000 post-modification inspections or post-installation inspections in the past several years. So Tito, why is PMI or PI required?
Well, it's a great question. It's required because it's prescribed in the International Building Code under Chapter 17, Special Inspections. It outlines the framework for the engineer of record, to identify the inspections that are required on the jobs that I'm designing. And it allows me the ability to identify the competent individuals that are going to be doing that work. And so, within TIA, we've seen that, we've looked at that and been able to adopt that into our own code and standard, which, Kyle, how do you see that being implemented on a day-to-day basis within the industry?
Yeah, I think what's prescribed in the 222 gives us a great groundwork for how we kind of implement the inspections. So much so to the point that we can even do desktop reviews. I think what's really important though is how those expectations and what's required from that inspection is communicated to the contractors and really everyone who's involved in that process. So, Kaibar, I know over the last several years we've been working together on the implementation of that. Kind of what's your experience and how that's evolved and kind of where we've come from during that process?
Well, my personal experience, at the beginning, we did not think that it was even possible to do this because one of the main issues were there was no communication between the contractors and the engineers. But with the PMI, what it enabled us to remove that barrier or remove that gap between the contractors and the engineers. And not only that, but also it helped us to provide feedback and receive feedback. Now, with the help of contractors and their feedback from field, we can have our engineers to design modification where it's better from a construction standpoint, and it's easier for contractors to do that. We were seeing that a lot of the sites were not being built according to the drawings that was prepared by the engineers. And what the contractors were doing is also that sometimes they needed to get a site done and move on to the next one. If they did not understand a part of the design, they would try to make it work without communicating with the EOR. So that caused a lot of sites that when we were doing the PMIs initially, that we were seeing a higher failure rate because the sites were not built according to designs. And with time, with a continuous communication and feedback between the contractors and engineers, we were able to kind of educate everyone that it's important that the EOR needs to be involved if there's ever any change made to the design. That way the engineer can provide and support the contractors that are out in the field.
One of the benefits that we get in addition to working directly with the general contractors is that we can create real-time solutions that will ensure the structural integrity of the structure we're dealing with and prevent any kind of network degradation to the overall site as well, which minimizes, downtime that potentially would have happened if these communication problems occurred without us being involved, us, the EORs.
Yeah, and I think that communication loop helps us, like I think you've already mentioned it, continually improve. So much so to the point, it's not even just us as engineers improving kind of on our own, right? Working with manufacturers to find new solutions, maybe that haven't been developed yet. I know we've been part of that process as well over the last couple of years. From even safety situations, safety climbs and guides and solutions of that sort, as well as improving our designs, making them more constructible, and as well as being, as you mentioned, code compliant and just improving the process overall.
And that's a good point. When you mention safety, that was something that the engineer or the design engineer was not very familiar with, because it was always assumed that that is part of the tower co's responsibility. And whenever the design engineer would design, they would not take that into consideration, like how would that impact the safety climb facility. So with the PMI, now we are educating our design engineers to make sure that they take that into consideration when they're proposing any sort of reinforcement that are being added to these towers.
Okay, so I think we now understand that one of the biggest barriers to having an effective post-modification inspection process is really communication between all of the various stakeholders involved, the end user, the manufacturer, the general contractor, and the engineer. This is a critical topic that we're going to be talking about in future videos, where we're going to cover more of the benefits to the end user on implementing a post-modification inspection process. Thank you.